Well, modern technology has changed our lives in so many ways, and some say it's also changing our brains. Here to talk about it is Dr. Gary Small. He is director at the UCLA Memory and Aging Research Center, and he's also the author of iBrain: Surviving the Technological Alteration of the Modern Mind. Good to see you, Dr. Small.
So many of us are
well, thank you for being with us. So many of us are so proud that we can multitask. We can do all these things at once. You know, we're handling our cell phone, we got BlackBerry in our hip, all that good stuff. But come to find out, this is to the detriment of our brains. In what way?
We have the perception we're getting more done when we multitask, but in reality, we're making more errors. So we're faster, but we're sloppier. It's a challenge because it's so seductive. We want to use this technology all the time, and it's not all bad. There's a lot of positive aspects of the technology. We're always connected with others. In fact, it exercises our brains to some extent. At UCLA, we did a study where we found that even older people can increase their brain activity just by searching online. So there's an upside, but there are potential downsides, too.
Okay, so that's all good stuff, or the upside, but the downside, like you said, it's making us sloppy. Sloppy in what way? Sloppy in the way we are detail-oriented, or maybe lack thereof as a result. We're sloppier in the way we communicate with one another. What?
We make more errors. So, you know, our brains are a bit like computers. When you shift from one idea to another, one program has to shut down, and then we have to move to another one. And it's not an efficient process. So we're doing one thing, and then we get distracted, and we do another thing. We forget where we are. We lose track. And it also has a tendency to distract us from face-to-face communication. So we just shoot off an email or a text rather than sit down and have a conversation. So we're finding that particularly young people who tend to use this technology a lot more, they're not as good at looking you in the eye when they have a conversation or noticing nonverbal cues.
Okay, this is not good. So how do we manage this? Because we know that we're not going to be able to, you know, depart from all this technology, especially the younger generation. As you mentioned, it's really kind of, you know, an extension of their limbs. So what do we do to manage this? How do we kind of police ourselves while we also enjoy all these gadgets?
The first step is to be aware of how it does affect our brains. Our brains are very sensitive, and if you spend a lot of time with one task over and over again, it will strengthen the neural circuitry for that task, but weaken the other tasks, the face-to-face skill tasks. So finding balance is really the key. Spending time offline, taking breaks, forcing ourselves to get up and have a conversation once in a while or take a walk rather than spend...
Well, I'm thinking
remember how to do that?
Yeah, well, I'm thinking the last one. Well, it sounds simple, but if I'm addicted, because that's really what it is these days, if I am addicted to technology, I've got to be in front of my computer screen, I've got to have my BlackBerry, all that good stuff. How in the world am I going to want to walk away from this stuff? Are you telling me I need to kind of put a schedule in front of myself that says, you know, at 2 o'clock, I've got to take a break, I've got to go do X, Y, Z?
You can't force yourself to do it unless you want to. And I think if you notice what your life is like, if you pay attention, it has a remarkable impact. Not long ago, I did a tape for a journalist, and the journalist said, okay, now you have to have some quiet time, and I couldn't use my gadgets or anything, and I noticed, my God, outside the window there are mountains and there's snow, and it was wonderful for a moment to take note of that. So I think when we notice it, that reinforces the offline behavior. And please don't get me wrong, I love the technology. It's great. I don't know if you know that surgeons who spend more time playing video games actually make fewer errors in the operating room. So it's training their brains. And the next time you go for surgery, maybe ask the doctor how many hours a week are they playing World of Warcraft.
Oh boy, well maybe it's the fine-tuning of those small muscles. You know, they're using that, you know, for their surgery and all that good stuff. It's kind of like practice, right? Maybe that's one way of looking at it.
We have scientific evidence for that the brain operates pretty much like our body does when we exercise our body. We can increase the efficiency of our brain activity by practicing these kinds of tasks. All
right, well, I love this digital detox, these suggestions. One task at a time, and, you know, taking a break. It's kind of, you know, just a new, I guess, a new way of thinking about that old adage of just, you know, take time to smell the roses, right?
Well, I think that's part of it. And in iBrain, we not only talk about how to reconnect offline, but also how to upgrade technological skills of the older generation, the so-called digital immigrants who come to the technology later in life, a little more reluctant to pick it up, and need to really upgrade their skills so they can keep up with the digital natives.
All right, Dr. Gary Small, thanks so much. I appreciate that.